Happy to see you. Okay, so for August, whether you're up in the north like me, so it's really hot, you're probably off for the summer, or maybe you're down south in Oz and it's winter time, regardless, you are probably spending some time at the beach. So our story for August is going to be Anna Dewdrey's Llama Llama, Sand and Sun. So the Llama Llama books, I'm sure whether you're a parent, teacher, I'm sure you are very familiar. But these stories are really fantastic because they introduce the literacy scale of rhyme. Why is rhyming really important? Why do we care about this? So rhyming, even when we read and rhyme, whether in stories or in songs, when we engage in rhyme and rhyming patterns, even with babies and very young children, it helps them learn about words, sounds, language repetition, and hearing these rhymes, the rhythm, the repetition. You're going to hear me say repetition a lot today. So it really helps children develop early literacy skills, which we know is very important. So the repetition of the words, the ideas, these skills, it's really important for our early brain development. It creates really secure foundations for early literacy learning. I'll give you a brief description of the story before we get into the activity today. If you do want to watch or listen to someone read the story, there are tons of educators who have already done this. So I'll put some links down below and you can see some other educators and see how they told the story. But we really want to get more into the STEAM activities. So I'll just give you a brief overview. If you want to purchase the physical copy of this book, especially for babies, toddlers, I even used it in my kindergarten classes, so like 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds. There is a touch and feel version of this story, which is really great to introduce tactile elements directly into the story before you even get to the activity that links together. So if you are looking for a physical copy of the story to use at your home or in your classroom, I would definitely recommend finding the tactile, the touch and feel of the Llama Llama, Sand and Sun. On the cover, we can see Llama Llama and his mama who look ready for the beach. So the language in the story discusses what vocabulary we might see at the beach, like sand, bucket, towels, as well as the actions like dig and splashing. The rhymes are quite easy to hear because the language isn't overly complicated. So we have words that rhyme like fun and sun. So if your children have developed more of the pre-reading skills, this will provide great opportunities for spelling and letter recognition part of rhyming. If they're a little bit younger and they haven't, it's still good to introduce those topics. All right, fab. So we've told the story with our kids. They're really jazzed about it. How can we link the story, the vocabulary, and the rhyming? How can we link that into some STEM and literacy activities? So this is something that you can do whether you're in a classroom with like 25 kids, like what I've done before, or maybe you're a mom, you're at home roughing it with your kids. You can do this activity in both places, which is why it's fab. So let's have a look. We are going to do some sand painting. Sand painting. All right, so sand painting is a maze because you can do this as an open-ended activity, so something that is more along what educators would call process art, or you could make it into product art if you wanted, if you had maybe a certain literacy goal in mind, if there's special vocabulary that you're working on, but I particularly like it because you can do it as process art, and especially in the early years, that is super important. So if you don't know what the difference is between process and product art, so process art, it basically focuses on how children make the art, right? The process of making it. So it's more about what they experienced and what they learned during the creative process instead of focusing on the final image, which would be the product art. You care about what it looks like in the end. So You could absolutely make this into something that would be more product art if you wanted, like we said before. Sand painting, it could definitely be tied into literacy, numeracy, anything that you are like a kind of goal, a target that you are working on with your kids. Maybe in the story, one of your kids really identified with the sand castle. When they go to the beach, that's what they do with their family or with their friends. So they got really excited about it. So you want to tie the sand painting into what that child related to. Like you could do it any kind of way that you want. So sand paint is incredibly easy to make. As you can see, I have my sand and my paint separate for now. We'll mix them together soon when I show you how we can make this. If you wanted to, there's loads of places where you can buy colored sand. So you would skip this step. It would make it a little bit easier. But you would have to pay for that. Spoiler. Or you could go down to the beach like I did and get some sand for free. And when you're mixing it, you can have your children help you. So this is where we can sneak in some numeracy into something that is really tactile. So the kids will be really into it. They won't be thinking about, oh, this is like a lesson about numbers. I don't want to do that. They're just more focusing on, can I help make this? Because this seems really cool. And sand painting is easy to make because we just need to mix the sand and the paint. We will need some white glue later, but we don't need to mix in the white glue. So the only things that we're mixing together to color our sand is whatever color paint you want to use. And you use a 1-to-1 ratio. So kids, even as young as 2 and 3, can help you to mix the ingredients together because you don't need to worry about, do I have, I need to do 1 tablespoon or, 15 grams, and you need to make sure it's like very accurate, where when you're doing some kind of more sciencey things, it can get a little bit complicated with the younger years because there are lots of different measurements. But for the sand painting, it's 1-to-1. So no matter what kind of measurement device you're using, the kids can help you because you just need to make sure they're doing the same, whether it's a big cup like this or even just a spoonful. Okay, you do 1 spoonful of sand and 1 spoonful of paint. Easy peasy. And we're talking about ratios with the kids. All right, so what else do we need? So we said we need our sand. Mm-hmm. We said we need our paint. Or you buy the colored sand, done. We are going to need some white glue. So it doesn't actually need to be white glue. I've found that white glue works a little bit better than the clear glues. If you want to use clear glue because you already have it, absolutely fine. I'm going to be using white glue because it's what I've used in the past. But if you use like the stick glue, I would not recommend the stick glue. It doesn't hold the sand and the paint as well as you want it to be. So basically any kind of glue that's a liquid glue will definitely work the best. So we'll need some of that. I'm gonna mix mine in just this little silicone bowl, but anywhere that you want to mix it is 100% up to you. And we're gonna need something to put our creation on. If you want to use like a white card, an A4 card, so it's a little bit of the thicker one, that one definitely works better because it can hold the materials, because this is a little bit of like a weighty art. I have also done before collaboratively. So with all my students working on the same piece, we have reused some cardboard from like some boxes that we have around the school. So I'm going to be using a small piece of cardboard today, but that also can introduce like recycling and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to use some cardboard. Cardboard also works because it can hold something with a little bit of weight. Something that I've done in my classroom before is that I've used the cardboard and mounted it up on the wall so that the kids, they can see it, they can reflect on it. And that's really nice to have when you're able to show their artwork, and especially when it's a collaborative thing. They like to like talk about it with their friends. I did this one. Oh, I did this one. And then it becomes like a really point of pride for the kids in the class, which is really lovely. And we talked about before how you could use this for more of a product art if you have an end goal in mind. So maybe you're focused on certain literacy sounds, letter recognition, number recognition. So if you want to grab a Sharpie, any kind of marker, you could already kind of outline the opportunities that you want the children to focus on. But again, entirely up to you and what you want the end goal of this activity to be. And lastly, before we get into it, if you wanted this project, depending on how old your children are, if you wanted to have an aspect of this that focused on their fine motor development. So fine motor refers to your hands and your fingers, whereas in later activities, we'll talk about gross motor. So that's your limbs and your body. If you want a fine motor aspect to this, which I know as an early years educator, we're always trying to be like, and how can they hold something, and fine motor also, it's pre-writing skills. So it's like how you sit in a chair and those kinds of things. So if you also want to encourage that with your children, you could, how we said, I'm going to use the silicone bowl. We could do something with having a spoon. So the children have to figure out how to hold the spoon and scoop out the paint and where to put it. So depending on how many colors you're using, this could tie into different, maybe not everything has a spoon. Maybe we have, kind of different levels of difficulty so that the children then also have some cognitive thinking and problem solving. Oh, like this spoon is heavier, this spoon is lighter, this is a different shape. How can I hold it to get it onto my paper? So yeah, this I would definitely say would be something to think about for parents or teachers who have very young children, 2, 3, 4, 5, who are starting to get more into writing. So we want to really work on making strong fingers, because that is going to be crucial for them in their writing futures. All right, so we did it. So let's see, how can we think about this project that we just did based on our beautiful story? What did we do that was actually stimulated? So depending on how you introduce the story, you might have used some technology. You might have introduced it with, an iPad or your computer, depending on if you had a physical copy or if you were using a version that you found on the internet. You might have also, we didn't talk about this before, but you might have used the app Novel, which adds sound effects to stories. So maybe you had that element of technology. We'll talk about that in some books in a month or two. We definitely did some A for some art. We made a beautiful piece of artwork together that also tied in our literacy, which isn't in STEAM, but is very important. And then we did some M, we did some maths. So we had fun, which I think is the most important part of maths, especially for the early years, making it really engaging and really fun. So tick, we did that. And next time, we didn't do any F's today, which I think is what most people think about when you say something is STEAM related. They think about the science. So next time, we will be doing an activity that will also tie back to Llama Llama, but it's going to be a little more science-based. So thank you so much for joining me. If this was helpful or interesting, if I gave you any good ideas, anything you want to run with, give me a like. And if you want to subscribe for Llama Llama Sand and Sun, we'll have 3 more activities for this story. It'll be for the whole month of August. And then once we flip into September, then we'll have a new story with new activities. But if you want to see what else we do with Llama Llama, Sand and Sun, you can come back next time, and hope to see you again. Bye, friends.